Growing up, post-games in Pokemon have always felt so weird to me. I never really knew if I liked them or not. And today, I want to take a look back to learn what I enjoyed about them and didn't. And quite frankly, the results surprised me. I'm also going to look at post-games I haven't played for the sake of completion's sake, but trust me, it'll be worth it. So let's start off with Red and Blue, an absolute masterclass of its own, creating a whole new wave of post-games never seen before. A collectathon. Yeah, just finish the Pokedex and TM decks. Okay, so Generation 1 actually doesn't start off so strong. But what about the acclaimed Generation 2? Well, Gold and Silver actually does create a whole new wave of post-games never seen before, by being the only one who includes a past region to explore, besides its remakes, but that's obvious, right? It also introduces one of the most iconic moments in Pokemon, being, of course, obtaining the Focus Band at the Fighting Dojo. Oh my, wow, I can't even believe it. They really went out there. And then there's also defeating Red, but doesn't anyone actually care about that anymore? On a serious note, it's one of the biggest shakeups, and I think I can see why. Any top video game post-game lists online that I could find are really just of 3D games, and a lot of them can't really, in my opinion, compare to the post-game of basically an entire already made game just thrown in for you to play after beating the first part. I still can't believe that they actually did that. I know it wasn't implemented like the best because of the level scaling and all of that, nor am I even saying that it's one of the best video game post-games in general. Definitely did something fresh, and I think you could definitely see where most of its acclaim came from. Is it well done? Onto Emerald. In my opinion, this is one of the best post games, and I haven't even played it. I mean, there's contests for those who enjoy that, a battle frontier, which based on what I've researched and heard, has nothing but praise for it, and a whole lot of smaller things to do, like the Trick House and getting the Reggies, which I've personally enjoyed a lot in ORAS. It just overall seems like a fun time. Is it necessary? Now we're on to the first post-game I've experienced, Diamond and Pearl. Let's ignore that it was in BTSP, shall we? In any case, I have to be honest and say, I actually didn't play it. I really tried though. I enjoyed the battle tower a bit, but when exploring, I just felt no motivation to do so. And so I didn't. You know what, scratch that for getting Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl part. Let's just fit it in here. Ramas Park is actually pretty fun, and I enjoy the underground too. Unfortunately, the items to get good use out of it are too rare, so I rarely used it. It's an okay post-game for those who enjoy that type of thing, but it's personally not for me. And I have heard that the Battle Frontier in Platinum isn't as good, so I can't really speak for them, but that's again what I heard. But onto Heart Gold Soul Silver, just completely improving from the acclaimed Gold and Silver to its critically acclaimed post-game. Not only do you have Gold and Silver's original Kanto editions, but you have several optional storylines like Giovanni's backstory, the Sinjo Ruins, though pretty much locked off, but you also have the Pokeathlon to keep up your fitness as you play. Yeah, let's go with that. Up till now, I haven't really experienced these post-games properly. I grew up with Pokemon on the DS era, but for Generation 4, I ended up losing my games before finishing either of them. So now I want to really answer the question I've had in my mind. Are post-games actually fun? Let's figure this out once and for all. Starting with Black and White's post-game. While it isn't as spoken of, there definitely seems to be an agreement amongst fans, being that it has a lot of quantity while quality varies. Not to mention Black and White 2's post-game. Personally, I've always enjoyed exploring the other half of the region, exploring the vast abyss, battling Cynthia, and the Elite Four rematch, which I actually did for the first time just a few months ago, after having wanted to do it for a really long time. Black and White 2 also has a lot of different engaging things to do, so it sounds like I had fun, right? Well, honestly, I'm not sure. I did, but I didn't. You see, I've always loved the idea of vast post-games that can give you things to do for a good amount of time. But even when Pokemon does have these post-games, I normally don't play through them. Keep in mind that even the ones that I have played doesn't mean I've played them every playthrough, meaning that it's not engaging enough for me to actually want to experience. So then it makes me question, what is it that I actually want? Well, the next post-game, surprised as it may be, actually comes close to answering this question. X and Y, the game most criticized for its lack of post-game and things to do after you beat it. The game that is yet to become recognized as even a good Pokemon game. This one, out of all of them, is probably one of my favorite post-games by far. But why? This game is famous for the lack of post-games, so how's it my favorite? Ignoring X and Y being my first Pokemon game and the bias that comes with it, well, this is where I have to admit that what I enjoy in Pokemon is not really the battling, or perhaps not even the Pokemon themselves, but rather the adventure and the stories that come along with it. Meaning, as cool as it is to have the option to have battle facilities and new regions to explore, what matters to me the most is the simple stuff. I don't want to explore without a reason, nor do I want to battle without reason. And the Looker story of X and Y fixes these exact issues for me. It is one of the few post-games of Pokemon that I truly enjoyed playing through, and it made me realize what I want most in a post-game. But first, I have to admit something. A minute ago, I gave the impression that I found Black and White's post-game to be sort of good, but that's it. And that's not entirely true. You see, I did that for the sake of the point I was trying to make, but my actual experience with Black and White's post-game was quite different, and I hinted to it earlier. and the Elite Four rematch, which I actually did for the first time just a few months ago, after having wanted to do it for a really long time. There's actually hidden story in black and white all along. Having felt like I never properly beat the Elite Four and became the actual champion, given that the game ended off battling N and not Alder, I wanted to rematch them, but they were always too overleveled for me and too strong. And so each time I played, I decided this would be the time I beat them, and that never actually came to fruition. But I always wanted to complete the finished story, and so I worked towards it day after day, getting my hours in our Gold Soul Silver's Pokeathon to prepare myself for the final clash. And I did it. I can't express how happy I was to finally complete the game's postgame. And it really contrasts with the other games' postgames. For example, I never had any motivation to beat the Elite Four again in any other game, such as, let's say, Diamond and Pearl, because I'm already the champion. What reason would I have to do so? But when I could actually put my name in that Hall of Fame for the first time, when I could finally battle the champion of the region for the first time, that's the extra push I need to play the postgame. And that's how, in my opinion, a postgame should be made. Make the players feel like there's still something left to play to actually beat the game. Otherwise, if you just leave things to do, what reason is there to do those things, right? Now, I want to go through rapid style the rest of the post games to see if any of them come close to entwining story and gameplay together. ORAS is the battle my son, but there's no real reason to play it. Sun and Moon doesn't really do anything for it either. However, Ultra Sun and Moon does. The wormholes are an exact continuation from where we left off in the story, and Rainbow Team Rocket is a separated story, but an epilogue nonetheless. Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee has nothing in this regard. Sword and Shield has the whole Sword Ward and Shieldbird thing, but it's really just to go from this place to this, which is just mind-numbing in my opinion. But Legends Arceus, I think, has one of the best executions of a postgame in Pokemon in my opinion. While X and Y is my favorite, which is really just because of bias, Legends on the other hand, I think is objectively one of the best. The entire idea of the game is to complete the Pokedex and catch Arceus, meaning that after you beat the game and defeat Dialga/Palkia, whatever, all of that is still hanging over you. You also have a very difficult battle awaiting you in Volo, meaning you give all of her the reason to battle, catch Pokemon, and more. The only thing I think is missing is another area to explore. It may have been pretty much everyone's favorite postgame then. Scarlet and Violet is a tricky one, as it's difficult to tell where the game ends and the postgame begins. I've always thought of it as after Area Zero, but I see some people mention that part to actually be the postgame, so I don't really know, but let's just go with it being after Area Zero, right? Anyways, the postgame is basically rematch the gym leaders to unlock a tournament, which is decently fun, but it's not much. I think like Sword and Shield, the raid updates and the like gave it a lot of staying power, and it's been doing pretty decently well to keep itself up, not mentioning the DLC of course. Also, for one moment, I'd like to clarify something I said about Diamond and Pearl earlier, as it actually did have a story sort of intertwined with the Battle Tower and being Barry's father, and if not for Legends Arceus, I may have actually spent time doing that part of the game, meaning it's actually pretty decent. It could have just used a bit more work, I think. In any case, this is why my experience with Pokemon postgames have always been really weird, and how I've deciphered what's really needed in my very humble opinion. And if you want to see how legendaries and postgames should be handled, check out this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and have a wonderful day. Bye!